My name is Nadine Zeinoun, and I'm an executive and team coach. What I simply do is I work with executives and with teams to empower them through emotional intelligence. Now, what is emotional intelligence to start with? Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand your own emotions and the emotions of others, and understand how these emotions are influencing your behaviors, your decisions, your relationships, and of course, your success. Now, why is it important? It's important because research shows that a big chunk of your success as a leader is due to your emotional intelligence. And even more than that, when you grow your emotional intelligence, you enhance your success and you enhance your well-being. And what more do we want, of course? But how do we do that? I will get to that in a minute, but I'd like to give you an example so you understand the importance of understanding our emotions. You see, emotions are at the heart of our behaviors and our decisions. We may not be aware of that, but it's going on. So every time I do a certain thing or I make a certain decision, there's some emotion embedded there that's actually influencing that, and I'm not aware. But when I become aware, I take the role and the power to decide on my behaviors and what behaviors I want to take that will serve me, rather than just take those behaviors that are driven by an emotion. And I'll give you an example to illustrate that. So one of my clients came to me. She had just left her job. We'll call her Nancy. So Nancy had just left her job a few months back, and she was really down, really depressed, full of self-doubt. And she even had financial problems because she had no job and she had to support her family. So all of this was really weighing her down. Now, I was curious, of course, because she had taken the decision to leave her job. I was curious to know what was the reason. And actually, what happened was there was a promotion that was given to somebody else, and Nancy believed that she deserved that emotion. So at that time, she felt angry, and she felt that she needed to stand up for herself, and that's why she resigned. Not knowing that this decision would not be the best for her and would not actually suit her, and it would take her to the situation where she was in when she presented to me. Now let's look at that. Why did this happen? Now some of you may be thinking, yeah, well, she should stand up for herself. Well, maybe. But when you look at the real reason this happened, what actually happened is Nancy's anger was secondary to something else. What Nancy was actually thinking at that moment was that she was betrayed by her management, especially her boss, and that, he wasn't loyal to her, and he actually stabbed her in the back. And she was feeling like all her efforts were not appreciated. So what she was looking for was appreciation and loyalty. Had she gone and asked her manager at that moment what was going on, and that this is how she had felt, guess what? Well, he had another job and position planned for her and ready for her, and it suited her even better than the job that wasn't given to her. But she didn't know all that. Why? Because her emotion made her assume the worst, and that's why she took that decision. Now, after working with Nancy for a few months, of course, we made things better, and she became aware of her decisions and how they were driven by her emotion. And now she has a very good job, and she's really happy and very aligned with her purpose and her mission in life. But the message here is, when we're not aware, our emotions drive us to take decisions that don't really serve us or our purpose or our goals, but we're not aware of that. When simply we stand up back and we look at them and we observe them and we see what's going on, then this empowers us to really take the decision that serves who we are, who we want to be, and what we want in this life. How do we do that? The first step of growing your emotional intelligence is simply to become aware of those emotions. You see, those emotions are a lot of information, but we're not always aware of them. So what I would ask you to do is stop yourself at different intervals during the day and ask yourself, what am I feeling this second? If you do that now, what are you feeling? Can you name it? Can you give it a name? So notice that emotion and name it. These are the first two steps to start to grow your emotional intelligence. The third step is to navigate that emotion. What do we mean by navigate it? Understand what's behind it. What am I thinking when this emotion comes? What are the thoughts? What are the beliefs that are coming up in that moment? How is it impacting my behavior? Is this behavior something that serves me, or does it not serve me? What's the impact of this behavior on others? Is this my intention or not? When I start noticing all this, I start understanding the patterns in my behavior. And that's when I can gain power and control over my behavior. So, in a very simple way, what I would ask you to do to start growing your emotional intelligence is to journal. Use the power of journaling. Give yourself 10 minutes every day and think of the emotions that you went through during the day. But don't stop at the emotion. Ask yourself, what's the situation that caused it? What was I thinking at that time? Because you know what? How you perceive the situation is what creates the emotion. And it's not the situation itself. It's how I see the situation. So if I know how I am perceiving it, I can simply change my perception and adjust my emotional state. So start by journaling. Understand your thoughts. Understand your perceptions. And then very simply, shift those perceptions by shifting the way you're thinking and your mindset. And if you're able to do these, and it's not easy, it will take time. I'm not saying when you start working on this, it's going to happen. It takes perseverance and it takes time. But don't give up. You can do it. If I could do it, then you could do it. So take that time, dedicate that time to your own personal growth, and start by journaling and better understanding your emotions. Have a wonderful day.
Hello. Today we will be exploring together these inner voices that we're having in our mind. And you as a leader or as an executive, or maybe you're not working but you want to explore more these voices, follow me and find out how we can get rid of these voices if you want. So these voices are called saboteurs. Did you ever have like a question in your mind or a statement saying, I'm not good enough? Or maybe I will not do this task because I will not succeed and I will avoid it? Or maybe judging others, saying that they are not doing the right thing. Maybe if I'm not in control, I won't be able to move forward and do things properly. All these voices, they are not you. These are just voices in your head saying, sabotaging your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior. So it will impact you and the surrounding, either at work, at home, from a personal or professional perspective. That's why being aware about them is so important. And knowing them is also very important. So what are these? From where do we have these saboteurs? Well, when we were kids, to protect us, our parents or the community that we're living into it will put some rules, regulations, or like, don't run. If you will run, you will fall. And if one time you will be running and you will fall. So this voice will become like, okay, I should not run because I may fall. It creates this fear. Or maybe when you were bullied at school and you will avoid these people because they are creating lots of pain. So it becomes kind of habit, and avoiding challenges, avoiding conflicts will create more like a way of dealing with situations, hard situations. And more, maybe I can name lots of them. But what's important for me today is for you to know that these saboteurs, they do have impact on you and on others. The king of these saboteurs is the judge. Judging yourself, judging others, criticizing, creating this fear will, in a way, protect you for a moment, and then on a long run it will have more impact of unsatisfaction, demotivation, and maybe more stress and anxiety. So the judge is here, and if you try to shut his voice and will tell him, no, I'm good enough, he may play it smart and will call for his friends, like the victim, the pleaser, the controller. They are 9 in total. But saying that, your role now is to have this awareness, to know that these voices, they are not you. Whenever you have this kind of voice in your mind, make sure to stop it. And why it's important to be aware about them, that they are not helping you, but they are here to create more challenges and to be your barriers for being success and happy. Well, honestly, let me give you an example. If now, and you're adult, and you're still connected to your mom with this umbilical cord, is it normal? Or if you cannot drink other than the milk that you had when you were infant. Or maybe like when you broke a leg at 5 years old and you put the cast to protect your leg from being more hurted or feeling this hurt and protect her, that you're putting the same cast now when you are adult. It's not possible. There is something to be changed. It's kind of similar thing that's happening in our mind, that these voices when we were kids, they are here to help us, to support us. But now that we are adult, we are responsible. We need to be aware how they are impacting us. They are impacting your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, and your surrounding. So make sure to lower their voice, get rid of them, and take responsibility. And when I'm saying that, you do have these 5 C's. Some of them will call them sages, and that's fine, whatever the name is. The importance is to find out how to get rid of these saboteurs and to open this neural pathway towards something much more powerful that will create more happiness, success, without doing any challenge for you to move forward. So, how to do it? We spoke about them. We know that they are here not to help us, but make sure that if you will consider them as friends, you will not be able to face them or to release yourself from their impact. You cannot get rid of a friend. You can get rid of an enemy maybe, or someone that's hurting you. The thing of this saboteur is on the top actually, they might create a good impact, like, I'm relief, or I'm feeling fine now. However, on a long run, it will create more frustration, anxiety. You won't feel happy or motivated. So keep this in mind and try something new, because what brought you to here today won't help you to move forward and to move from this good to great. You need to change something. You don't have anything to lose other than trying. So give it a try. What do we need to do? And how we need to move from this position of being led by the saboteurs into a new neural pathway, which is more positive, more, I would say, creative and innovative. First, label that voice and say that this is a voice, it's not me. This is the judge voice. Give it a name. Like, for example, this is the judge Ross. Here we go with the judge Ross is here again to tell me what to do. Believe it or not, it will impact the voice of the judge. Or maybe you will say, this is the controller who's here again. So the controller is saying blah, blah, blah. But me, I would love to do this and that. Naming and labeling these voices are important. When you're speaking, don't say, I'm judging. Say, I have the voice of the judge who is saying. So this dissociation impacts you physiologically and psychologically. And it will help you to dissociate two entities. So this is one. Two, what you need to do is to shift your mind. Press the button to close the pathway of the saboteur and open a new pathway, the neural pathway of leading into this part of the brain where we do have lots of analytical thinking, logical, innovation, creativity, and so on. So, how you shift part? By being mindful, by practicing maybe a breathing technique, or if you're visual, focus on a picture like this one and find, for example, what are the details of this picture? What are the different colors? And it will take you like mainly 30 seconds, 1 minute. It's fair enough to shift from this to that. And you will be enhancing, you will be practicing to enhance this muscle where you will be able to fix in 10 seconds or to switch from saboteur to the 5 C's in 10 seconds, not more, when you enhance your brain and this muscle brain. Third part is to go and explore these 5 C's. When I'm speaking about these 5 C's, what they are: to be compassionate with yourself and with others, to be creative, that, okay, what's happening now for me? What might be the solution, or what is the opportunity behind that? Third C is the collaboration. And this collaboration, it's from within, connecting with my values and collaborating with others. Open the door to be supported by others. Having the courage to move, to leave these voices of saboteur and step into something new, to try it. And last but not least, avoid from using the question that will start with the why. Why is always will create more trigger to the judge, and the judge is here to protect the ego. So when you start your question, why it's happening to me, why and why, the saboteur of the judge will be awake and will put himself into a defensiveness mode. Instead of the why, practice the what. What might be something interesting that I will learn from? How this challenge is an opportunity to grow, and so on. On that, I will leave you for now, and I will tell you, if you have any question, feel free to reach out, because it's very important to be aware about these voices, that they are not you, and you really can afford to be much, much more powerful if you get rid of them, or at least you lower their voice. Thank you.
Welcome, and thank you for listening in to Bye Bye Stress and Welcome Calm. This is about how to become friends with your stress system. My aim for this is to give you tools and insights that will help you in your everyday life, in your business and work, and also in your private life. I will give you a couple of homeworks assignments as we go along, and listen carefully. You need to do the work yourself. But it's okay to get help from your network or from professionals if you need it. Now let's start the journey from stress to calm. Everyone talks about stress. I'm so stressed. Oh, I am so overwhelmed. I can't take this anymore, whatever this is. But what is stress really? All the things on your to-do list? Not having enough time? And what does it do to us? You get tired, shaky, you're even crying? And most importantly, what can we do to change the picture? Hi, I'm Dr. Annika, a medical doctor with 30 years in Swedish primary healthcare. I have profound personal, clinical and scientific knowledge of what stress is. I have been in the deepest black hole myself, and I have met thousands of patients, and in the later years also clients in the business world with stress issues. Stress-related issues is the most common cause for sick leave today. Everyone knows, but nobody really does do anything about it because the problem is seemingly so large. If we don't tell, no one will notice, they'll say. And we are talking about mental stuff. Who wants to be connected with mental stuff? That's a real no-no, especially in the tough business world. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, the fear of the different. I have found an answer to this challenge. Our stress system is part of life. It's part of our basic biology. You can't get rid of it. Taking things down to earth and can make it both fun and easy to tackle, piece by piece, defeating the stress when you know how. And I found at an early stage of my medical work that around 75 or maybe 85 or even more of consultations in primary care are lifestyle related. To live healthy is not hard, and it's really not that expensive, but it's even easier and cheaper to live unhealthy as a couch potato, eating crap food and messing with your sleep. That makes our lifestyle our most important health factor and our most dangerous risk factor. Now, some of you might blame your genes, but no, lifestyle is a mindset. You can do your best with your lifestyle independently of what genes you have. And also, if you have genes determining a higher risk of illness, because biology is unfair. We have uneven qualities in this. So you have to live a healthy lifestyle to make that life as long and vibrant as possible. So you can't just blame your genes or whatever other things. It's on you. Also, there are no quick fixes. Stress is a biological reaction. You can't live without it. Without stress hormones, you are dead. Yes, you heard me right. Too low stress hormone levels, they make you deadly ill. People who have that condition, they are stuck with lifelong complicated medication, and I guess you don't want to be there. No. So the goal is with this work is to become friends with your stress system. So still, the world is full of quick fixes to buy apps, gadgets, pills, drinks, even narcotics, and they give you only temporary help, if any, and mostly it gives you one more thing to keep track of. And if someone tells you that you look stressed out, you will say, I am not, because we have a hard time seeing it in ourselves. We as human beings usually stick our heads in the sand for our own flaws. How do we know that we are stressed? What is your reaction? Do you get shaky? Have anger? Forget things? Lose interest? You get a headache, or you get a stomach ache, or you become hyperactive, or you get slow, or tons of other things. I get slow. That's why I know I am stressed. I get super slow on the outside, and people often see me as calm. But my head is spinning on the inside, unable to think clearly, looking for an answer. So how do you react? Try to find out, because it can help you in the future to recognize those signs. When you do that, you can learn to react differently in a way that benefits you more. And this is your first homework assignment. How do you usually react when you get stressed? You say to yourself, I usually, and whatever that is, and put that down on a piece of paper. You ponder around it. Discuss it with someone who knows you well and that you trust. And learn to recognize when you get into that rat hole in the future. And I'll talk about what to do in just a second. When I started to look deeper into this stress friendship journey, I realized we need two different kinds of stress management, two different levels. I have in the moment as one of the levels when stress hits you, when it says knock, 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 like we just talked about, when it comes on you. But also in the long run, to make those knockings of the stress come more seldom. First, let's take a look at in the now. It is about taking you to the actual moment where you are right now, because it's only in that actual moment that you can think clearly. If you fall back to in your thoughts how it was in the past, or fear in your thoughts about the future, your mind will be locked for effective thoughts, clinging to thoughts you can do nothing about, because the past has been already. You can do nothing about it. And who knows what will happen in the future? No one. Those are just thoughts. The trick is to move yourself into the now. And I use a few easy tricks to get there. And this also belongs to your homework. How do I know I'm stressed? Like we said before. And what shall I do to get out of it? And I call these also quick tools, quick fixes. They are tools that you bring along in your body. You always have them there. They cost nothing. And just try to practice them, and they will become part of your natural behavior. I'm talking about the breathing. You probably heard of that before. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and hold it for a second, and then you breathe out slowly through your mouth and let your shoulders down at the same time like this. You do that a few times and your brain will thank you with getting clear again, so you can start thinking clearly again and solve whatever you were doing. Another way to get to the same result is to move your body. You move your muscles. You can stretch, or you can jump up and down. I'm sitting, so it's not that easy here. You can take a walk around your desk, or you can take a walk in the corridor, even around the block if you have the time, because moving your muscles will help your brain cells to reorganize themselves to a more effective mood. It can be what I call a mini meditation. It's closing your eyes, saying a kind word to yourself slowly, repeatedly for a minute or two. I use the word release, and you can use that too, or another word like this: release, release, release. And now I said it out loud. You can say it to yourself if you are sitting on a bus or train or somewhere where you don't want to say it out to everybody. That will also help your brain to think clearer, because you will get your thoughts straightened out. You can use the smile, and that's kind of my favorite, because smile makes your brain, when you smile, your brain produces feel-good hormones, and that makes you calmer, and you can get back into the now. You can smile to yourself in a mirror if you don't have somebody else to smile towards, or you take your phone and you put it in selfie mode and you smile to yourself. Yes, I am so. Or you can go and get a glass of water if that will rehydrate you if you've been working along for a while, and your brain will, you will move and you will think of other things, and that will help your brain. So this will help you tackle stress in the moment of stress, to get back in the now. You can come up with a solution and you can continue your work. But these moments of stress will come back over and over again if you act the same way in your life. If you want to have a different result, you need to make changes in your life so that they will come more seldom. You have to do changes in your actions, and that takes a lifetime. Like I said, this is a system that's part of our basic biology. You will have it until you die. So remember, we can't live without our stress system. It's about keeping it under control. Become friends with it. And believe me, we all have this system on board. It works the same in everyone, whatever the color of your skin, your age, your gender, or anything else that might look different on the outside. And I will say it is extra helpful for you to learn this and make your system even more personalized if you feel you easily get stressed out. It's about getting into your best zone. And there are tons of different things you might want to change or need to change in your life. Or it might be just a few, whichever you need to or want to change. You need to use your willpower. Set your mind, because this is about mindset. If you don't want to do the work, it will not get done, because no one can make lifestyle changes in your life. You have to do them. I have to do my changes. It's just as easy as that. And you need to save energy for doing the changes, because most changes takes energy. And when you are in the hamster wheel, you don't have much energy left, right? So you have to And you have to get it somewhere. You can't buy it. There's no way to buy energy, and you can't get it from someone else. You have to generate that energy yourself. And the only way to get new energy is to take good care of yourself. Sleep, eat, exercise, and also friendship is now known to be a very good thing for getting energy for a positive life. And getting all this in order is a lesson in itself. We can talk a long time about these things, but in the short, it is sleep 7 to 8 hours per night, eat healthy, and eat 3 times a day, and take at least a 30-minute brisk walk 5 days per week. That will be the base for the optimization of your energy, so that you get extra energy so you can do changes. So now when you have decided to create this help system and do the changes, set your mind and generated some more surplus energy, now you can make the changes you need to do so that those knockings will come less seldom. And we're talking about changes that you need to do and want to do, not what others tell you to do or what you think other people want you to do. No, be sure it is what you need and want. And my best tip for this is for you to take a piece of paper, divide it into 3 columns by a line or 2 lines. Then on the left-hand side, you write a list of things. This is how I want it to be. What do I want to change? What do I want to achieve? Where am I heading? What dreams do I have? Everything I want. This is how I want my life from now on. And on the right-hand side of the paper, you write where you are today with those things. Just simply how it is. No judgment. It's just, this is how it is. Even if you don't like it, you just write it, and no bad feelings. And then in the middle, in the gap, you start writing your action steps you need to take to get to that wanted place. Because now you can see that, okay, I am here and I want to go there, and yeah, I do need to change this, this, and this. And then you move those action steps that from the middle column that you wrote to a new paper, and you start dissecting your steps into small steps that you can take. You don't have to have the road filled with all the way to your goal. No. It's just small steps in that direction. And then put numbers on those steps, like you can say this should be number 1, 2, 3 in the way you want to do them. Whether it's because it's the best, or if you see that's the easiest and I want to get going. So now you have started a journey towards your best place in life. And best is if you can adjust this list to your special needs. Maybe discuss with someone who knows you well. You need to revise this now and then to make sure that you stay on track, that you're heading towards where you actually want to be. So this is also a homework to start the journey towards a new you with those papers those thinking that you just did. So a quick recap. Remember, the long-term version of stress management is to reduce the amount of short moments of stress knocking on your shoulder by doing permanent changes so that they don't knock that often in the future. And your homework to do? Well, what is your stress sign or stress signs? You might have a couple of different ways that you usually react. Just try to figure out, when I get like this, I know I am stressed out. And what's your best tool to get out of that moment? I talked on the breathing, moving, smile, mini meditation. So you figure out which ones you want to practice and then keep practicing them. Even if you're not stressed out, you can practice and think about it, because then it will come automatic when you need them. And then the third thing is to make that basic plan of what to change and divide into small steps and start taking those steps. So good luck with your work finding your new friend, your stress system. So keep smiling. Bye-bye from Dr. Annika.
Competence is an illusion dictated by others at their most elemental level of emotional intelligence. Why should that matter to you? In the world of business, your success is dictated by the illusion of confidence. Keep in mind, you don't decide your level of confidence. You don't, and this applies to all areas of your life. You might want to be an authentic leader. You might want to be a servant leader. How you perceive yourself on those endeavors is completely irrelevant. If you view yourself as an authentic leader and everyone around you views you as not, guess what? You are not an authentic leader, regardless of what your feelings are on it. This is the nature of the illusion of competence. And we see the illusion of competence every single day. And the first time I saw the illusion of competence was on a store visit. And it doesn't matter the operation. It doesn't matter if it's a manufacturing plant, a store, a restaurant. There is a process when you have a VIP visit. I call it the 3 C's. You clean, you coach, you catch up. You clean your operations from top to bottom. Make sure everything is shiny and new for when the VIP walks in. I even take the extra step to make sure that you walked into my operation, you're going to smell some sort of cleaner, some sort of Ajax, Lysol, something that said, oh, this has a nice, fresh, clean scent. Didn't matter if it was clean or not, it had to smell clean. This is a part of fostering the illusion of competence. You clean your operation, you coach your employees. This is how you act when the big shot is in the store. This is how you act with me. If we have a customer in the store, by all means, use all our catchphrases, do everything that we train you to do so that the VIP can see it. You've got to be on your best behavior. Here's a funny thing about the illusion of competence. Everyone involved knows it's an illusion. Your boss knows your operations don't look like this all the time. You know your employees don't act like this all the time. But guess what? Not only does your boss inspect the illusion that you create, your boss expects the illusion that you create. In other words, if you don't do all these little things, if you don't do the 3 C's, clean, coach, and catch up, to get to create that illusion of confidence, you get in trouble for it. There are other ways to show that confidence is an illusion. You get hired by a company. The boss loves you, the company loves you. There are other ways to show that you really think you're going places in the company. For whatever reason, the boss leaves. You get a new boss. All of a sudden, you're incompetent. The boss doesn't think you know what you're doing. Nothing you do is good enough. You haven't changed whatsoever. The only thing that's different is the perception of your boss. This extends even further. You can have 2 different bosses that have a completely different opinion of your work that you're doing at the same time. In other words, a boss in one division will think you're fantastic. A boss in another division thinks, well, I can keep this person has to go. They don't know what they're doing. Your performance is exactly the same. The only thing different is their perception. That is the power of the illusion of competence. The other thing that you need to know about the illusion of competence and why it is so important to your life and to your business life is the scale of the illusion of competence. San Francisco in 2023 had a big Southeast Asia conference. San Francisco spent 2 years before this conference creating the illusion of competence. They created parks where there were none. They got rid of the riffraff. Literally 2 days before this conference started, there are pictures of people painting flag posts or painting light posts to create the illusion that, hey, everything in San Francisco is great. Where does the illusion of confidence come from? And why is it so powerful? The illusion of confidence is dictated by perception at the most elemental level of emotional intelligence. What that means is your boss doesn't like you on some higher plane of emotional intelligence. Your spouse certainly doesn't love you on some higher plane of emotional intelligence. Your spouse loves you at a level that they do not understand, they do not control, they do not wish to control it. And why would they want to? They love you with all of their heart, and they don't care why. And like I said, and they're analyzing, gee, why do I love that person so much? No. You accept the one that you love because that feeling is so innate inside of you, you can't control it. Why would you want to? Here's the funny thing about competence and perception. You do not control your perceptions of the things that you look at. And it doesn't matter if it's this video, me on the video, the clock in the back screen, my good friend Robert Plant here. Doesn't matter. When you look at all these three things, you get an instantaneous perception of them. You aren't thinking on a higher level. You aren't analyzing. You're like, boom, Robert looks a little bit sickly. I like the classic look of that clock. What is Bart talking about? Those are all perceptions that you can't control. And they are instantaneous, or they are your perceptions of things happen in the split second. If I want to talk about quantum entanglement, I want to talk about your perception because they come at you fast and furious. You can't control your perceptions of the things that you look at, the things you smell, the things you taste, the things you feel. All of those things dictate your perception. So in other words, you don't control your perception. Others do. All of those things dictate your perception. So in other words, you don't control your perception. Others do. If you reverse engineer that, you come to a realization. Others don't control their perception. I do. That is the power of the illusion of competence. It happens at a level of perception that people can't control because those perceptions are controlled by other people. By that very nature, that means that you control other people's perceptions of you by your actions, by the things that you do. But everything I teach revolves around the illusion of competence. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Hi, my name is Linda Crockett. I'm here today to speak to anyone who's interested or directly impacted in experiencing workplace psychological hazards. My purpose is simple: to bring you insight, information, and hope. I'm not just here as an advocate or a professional. I'm here as someone who has lived it. I am a survivor and a thriver of workplace bullying, mobbing, lateral violence, and harassment. My case left me with PTSD and a permanent physical illness. At one point, I stood on the edge of a cliff, feeling hopeless, stuck. I never thought something like this could ever happen to me, but it did. And that's why I'm here, to remind you that you're not alone. This is not schoolyard bullying. It is far more complicated and heavily nuanced. But there is life after workplace psychological abuse. You can heal. It will change you, but for me, the strengths I've gained and the incredible experiences I've had along the way have far outweighed the negatives. My journey began back in 2008 when I hit rock bottom. I made a decision then. I had two choices, really. One was to become bitter and stuck in resentment, or two was to turn it into something that I could help to prevent harming others. I chose to recover, to educate myself, and to use my education and experience and all my learning to help other people. I didn't want my grandchildren growing up in a world where this could happen to them. And yeah, it could. I know you probably can't see the positive possibilities right now, but I promise you they are there. Let's start by calling this what it is. It's workplace bullying. It is psychological hazard. It is a pattern of repeated negative behaviors and actions, whether intentional or not. It's directed at a specific person or a group of people. It is never a one-time incident, and it always results in some form of harm. Hazards also include harassment, which is unwanted behaviors or comments that demean and intimidate or degrade, discrimination, racism, sexism, ageism, ableism, and bias based on someone's identity, even retaliation or punishment for speaking up. Toxic cultures where misconduct is normalized and integrity is punished, these are hazards that create unsafe, toxic workplaces. They harm people, not just emotionally, but physically, financially, and spiritually. The harm spills over to your family, your spouse, your parents, your children. They are impacted too. These injuries are real. They don't just happen overnight. They happen slowly, quietly, relentlessly. It's like being hit by a car, not just once, but by a series of blows that you never saw coming. You're left confused, disorientated, fearful, and full of self-doubt. It's like the quote, death by 1,000 cuts, or more accurately, psychological injury by 1,000 psychological insults. We often don't speak up because we miss or dismiss the first 300 or 400 cuts. But by the 800 or 900th, we're in serious trouble, facing potentially permanent diagnoses. Don't wait. Don't dismiss this. It's not your fault. Hear me when I say this. This is not your fault. This didn't happen because you were weak. Someone else abused their power. If you were hit by a car, you go to the emergency room immediately. But when we are injured by workplace psychological hazards, we tend to hesitate. We minimize, we question ourselves. I should have been able to handle this. I should have known better. I should have been stronger. If I just work harder, do more, do better. In true cases of workplace bullying, the harder you work, the worse it gets. It's not about a lack of anything in you. Again, these are injuries, not weaknesses. There is proof. We can use psychological assessments. We can use financial losses, medical records, but be sure to see a doctor or a therapist who understands the complexities of this kind of injury. You need professionals documenting on your behalf, but you also need your health monitored. Start documenting the moment that you start to feel something is off. Documentation protects your credibility. This kind of injury tends to cause us fatigue, loss of concentration, or memory loss. So your documentation is important for your clarity, and you need that clarity to keep your confidence. And if you have your confidence, it'll also keep your courage, because your consistency in your story, when you're ready to make a complaint, will have you readily available for the investigator. Here are a few common signs of injuries that you might recognize. Anxiety, hijacking your sleep, panic attacks before meetings, chronic pain, migraines, stomach issues, IBS, muscle tension, crushing self-doubt, isolating from your friends and family, hypervigilance, like that alarm just won't shut off, you're always on edge, depression and exhaustion. Again, these are not flaws, these are injuries, and injuries need care. You may feel broken, but it's called an injury, and it is not forever. Work is supposed to be a place where we give our skills and passion and feel valued and safe in return. That's psychological safety. But when that place becomes one of betrayal, it cuts very deep. It shakes your sense of self. But listen closely. You're injured, and injuries can heal. Just like a broken bone needs a cast, these injuries need trauma-informed care, compassion, therapy, legal advice, community support. Asking for help takes courage, but you don't have to go through this alone. Vulnerability, in my opinion, is the ultimate act of strength. You may never get the justice that you deserve, and that is unfair. But you can't wait for justice to show up before you start healing. Take your power back. I walk this path every day, healing and learning, and I will for the rest of my life. Sometimes when we are going through a lot of stress, our mind, well, it tends to play tricks on us. Did you know that when we are distressed, our vision tends to narrow? We shut out the world just to cope, just to get through another day. And when you do that, you're not only cutting out all that negative stuff and the stressors, you're also shutting out the possibilities and the solutions. We can't see the full picture when we're under duress until we get help, until we quiet the fire alarm and re-engage our rational mind. The problems may still be there, but you will finally see that there are solutions. Solutions you may never have considered before. You might not even like the solutions at first, but please remember this quote, and please tell your children who might be experiencing bullying at school. Even if you were perfect, you would still be bullied because you're perfect. This is not about a flaw in you or me. We all have flaws. This is about a fracture in the aggressor. Here is a short, but certainly not my full comprehensive roadmap for moving forward. Prioritize your medical and emotional care. Do it for your health, but also do it for the evidence it will bring you. Seek trauma-informed therapy. Make sure that the therapist understands workplace injuries like this. Not all do. Explore holistic healing. There are many that are excellent for trauma, such as yoga, many types of yoga, many types of meditation, massage, art therapy, improv theater. There's so many. Focus on healthy sleep routine, good nutrition and hydration. Move your body, a short walk. Exercise can be a great antidepressant, especially if you don't want to take medication. You do have choices, but you've got to do something to get better. No one else is going to do that for you. It's a choice that you have to make. Don't let the voices of those bullies in your mind win. Fight back. Fight for yourself. Get practical support, like gathering free information, for example. You can call Occupational Health and Safety, get the information from them. Human Rights, gather more legal aid. Get a free quote from a consult from a lawyer. Don't quit your job impulsively. Get advice first, even if it means taking some time, some of those vacation days you've saved up or some sick days. Take some time out to gather information or talk to someone. Make a financial plan. You might have to look at your plan differently now that your job might be at risk, but it helps to get a plan in place. Protect yourself and protect your mind. Reconnect with yourself. Do things that remind you of who you are, the music that you love, the hobbies that you used to do. Fight that desire to isolate yourself and talk to people that care about you, that know you. Set strong boundaries. Maybe you already have some and they need some enhancement. Maybe you've never had any. Reclaim your values. I always tell my clients, listen to your heart. Your heart will never lie to you. Sometimes messages get all messed up in our heads and we can't trust them, but we can certainly trust our heart. Our hearts are solid. Just quieten your mind and listen. Ask yourself, am I a good person? Did I mean to cause anybody harm? Did I try to work really hard? Yes. Your heart will tell you the truth. That is a check that I had to do to survive when I went through this. Create a new vision for your future. Your purpose can evolve. I never imagined that I would be doing this work, but here I am. Find your new people. People who understand this kind of experience. Healing requires that community. Find safe spaces, peer support. There are groups, there are advocacy networks, there are organizations, many of us. But find a way to tell your story, whether it's writing it out, singing it, writing poetry, painting, Get it out of your body. It helps you to make sense of it in your head. Connect with the dots so that you can see the whole picture. You did not deserve this. You were in the right place, doing your job with integrity, dedication, and skill, but it was someone else's wrong time. It was their misconduct that caused this harm. But you are still here. You're stronger than you think. Let others help you remember that. You may have forgotten who you are. Many of my clients tell me, Linda, I've lost myself. When we are in crisis, whether it's a loss of a loved one, an injury, an illness, or a workplace abuse, we become confused, our values and our priorities are shaken, and we question our goals, our aspirations, even our sense of identity. But this is a part of the life work crisis process. You are in transition from shock, transitioning through new learning, to adjusting, to healing. And over time, you will rediscover yourself, blending your old self with your new self. It's a metamorphosis. And while it can be so uncomfortable, trust me, trust the process. Reach out for help. Don't go through it alone. At some point, you will see the light again. And it will make sense. You will find yourself again. I've done it. And you can too. Healing is possible. Your story may be complex, may even be hard to believe. You might think that it's the worst story I've ever heard, but over the past 15 years, I have listened to thousands of stories just like yours. And while I wish none of us had to go through this, I want to offer you comfort. There are solutions. You may not like some of them at first, but when you've been through a wreck, whether it's a car wreck, a train wreck, or a workplace bullying wreck, you need to come out of the fog and take a hard look at options you may have never considered before. That's where healing begins. Healing is possible. Recovery is possible. Joy will return. Today, there are many of us around the world that can help you. Your current circumstances don't define where you can go. They only define where you start. Thank you for being here. I know this is not easy. I truly wish you strength, clarity, and peace as you move forward. Take care.
Imagine walking through life and feeling deeply connected to those around you. So your family, your friends, your kids, your colleagues, and even strangers. You feel this deep sense of connection and humanity. That is the power of empathy. So my name's Leanne Butterworth and I run social enterprise Empathy First. I'm an empathy educator and I teach people that empathy is a learned skill, or more specifically, healthy empathy. Now, a lot of times I will tell people what I do, and I met with this almost, this disgust, this fear of, oh, yuck, empathy, gross. Because a lot of people have a lot of misperceptions about what empathy is. So we think it's just feeling the feelings. We think it's something that you're either born with or you're not. We think that it's untrainable. We think it's a weakness. We think that it doesn't belong at work and it's just for the girls. Now, none of that is true. The truth is, healthy empathy or healthy sustainable empathy is a skill that can be learned and practiced, and it is the ability to, or at least the really good attempt to, share and understand the feelings and perspectives of someone else and respond in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. Now, a lot of times there are a number of different definitions that we kind of lump into the word empathy. It's only been in our language for about the last 120 odd years. So we think of it as sympathy, or we confuse it with pity, or we confuse it with compassion. But healthy empathy is the ability to, or at least the really good attempt to, share and understand the feelings and perspectives of someone else and respond in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. Now, if we're going to break it down, the way that I look at empathy and the way that I teach empathy is that it has 3 types. So that's based on the work of Goleman and Ekman, 2 emotional intelligence gurus out of the USA. And the 3 types are emotional, so feeling the feelings, cognitive, taking perspectives, and compassionate, the ability to respond appropriately. Now, within each of those, there's healthy and unhealthy. So emotional empathy, the feeling the feelings. Unhealthy emotional empathy is when we jump down emotional rabbit holes, when we feel for other people, when we have poor emotional boundaries, when we don't have good emotional literacy. And we think that empathy is just feeling the feelings, and the more we feel, the better we are and the better friend we are. But in doing so, we burn ourselves out. And it's not sustainable because we keep giving and giving and giving. And the trouble is, if we think about it, we don't want that from other people. Think about a paramedic. You don't want your paramedic crying next to you. We want people to hold space for us, but not to be traumatized by the things that we are going through. It makes us sort of clam up. Healthy emotional empathy, on the other hand, is that ability to be with somebody and share their feelings and have good boundaries and make them feel as though we understand, because we get curious and we want to know how they feel. We don't have to take on their stuff. We don't have to take responsibility for their stuff, but we have to acknowledge and validate it and make the person feel as though their feelings matter. So that's healthy emotional empathy. And that takes skill, because we have to learn skills like boundaries and emotional literacy, being able to name different emotions, being able to give language to emotions so that we have an emotional toolkit greater than mad, bad, sad, and glad. So things like the emotions wheel can help there. That helps us give language to our emotions. Up the other end, we've got cognitive empathy. Now, cognitive empathy, that ability to take the perspective of somebody else, is a really important skill to understand that people think differently to us. Now, you might have heard the phrase, put yourself in someone else's shoes. So we're trying to see what life is like for them, what their perspective is, what their experience is, what their truth is. The trouble happens when we don't take our own shoes off first. Now, what that means is we're then interpreting their experience through our lens, through our unconscious biases, through our experience, our privilege. And we would respond to them potentially saying, well, if I was you, I would just, or this is how I would feel in the situation, or the way that you feel isn't valid, or your perspective isn't valid because it's different to mine. That's unhealthy cognitive, because potentially we create distance. We might come out with things that are minimizing or dismissing, or even worse, we might say, unsolicited advice, such as, well, you shouldn't feel that way, or you shouldn't think that way, or why don't you just, and then give advice such as, why don't you just get a job? Why don't you just lose weight? All these things that we assume are easy because we haven't actually stepped into their experience, not just our interpretation of their experience. So healthy cognitive empathy is taking your shoes off. If you're in emergency services, or if you're in any sort of vulnerable workplace, you can keep your socks on. I don't want you wading around barefoot in other people's experiences. But healthy cognitive empathy is acknowledging how our brain works. It's acknowledging your privilege, acknowledging your experience, acknowledging your unconscious biases, your assumptions, and looking at how you interpret the perspectives of other people and how you then respond. So learning about unconscious biases, learning about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, learning about other people's experiences is really helpful in practicing healthy cognitive empathy. The third type is compassionate empathy. That's the combining healthy emotional, healthy cognitive, and replying in a way that makes people feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. So things like, it makes perfect sense you feel that way. Tell me more about that. What's going on for you? Really getting curious, letting people know that they matter. Using the word let's. Let's have a coffee. Let's have a chat. Feels very, very different to you should. So when we think about why this matters, well, healthy emotional empathy matters because it lets us connect deeply with people. People connect on emotion. There's a beautiful saying by Maya Angelou, people won't remember what you said or did, they'll remember how you made them feel. Being able to connect emotionally is what makes us human. If you think about healthy cognitive empathy, the ability to expand your mind, take different perspectives, learn what it's like to be someone else, get outside of your own perspective, get outside of your own reality, again, helps us acknowledge the humanity in other people. And then responding in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe is super important. I remember when I struggled with my mental health after having children, I had late diagnosed postnatal depression, and one of the catalysts for it being late diagnosed was people around me minimizing and dismissing. When I said that I was struggling, people around me would say, the days are long, the years are short, we all got through it, you chose to have children, just have a drink. And you can hear in those responses, none of them are attempting to make me feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. So if we think about how to do this, I have a lovely phrase called the HEART method. And when we're trying to put empathy into practice, we have HEART, which is H-E-A-R-T. So HEART. H is hear. Truly hear the person. Put away your distraction, put down the phone, take a deep breath, and be truly, truly present with the person you are listening to. Give them your full attention. E is to engage. Ask curious questions. Ask for more information. Focus on, getting to the bottom of, not interrogating, but getting curious about the person. Tell me more about that. What was that like for you? How did that feel? Really get curious about their experience, not your interpretation of their experience. So H, hear, E, engage, A, acknowledge and validate. Now what that means is listen for the emotions behind the story. It makes perfect sense you feel that way. Or, wow, are you feeling anxious? What does that feel like? It makes perfect sense that that is your response. Thank you for sharing that with me. So acknowledging and validating the emotions behind the story. R is responding. Now remembering that we've got to respond in a way that makes people feel heard, valued, visible, and safe. So what we want to do is let's invite people in. Yeah? See what they need. Offer. Yeah? Be proactive. And then building trust is through authenticity and consistency. Really showing up for people again and again and again. Yeah? In a way that is sustainable for you, in a way that doesn't burn you out. Do it within your own practice. Practice self-empathy. Understand your own boundaries. Understand your unconscious biases. Understand your stuff so that you can better show up for other people and they can better show up for you, because strong relationships are absolutely critical. Now, whether that's in leadership, in your relationships, whether that's with your kids, with your friends, in just alleviating loneliness and getting out there and participating in the world, that ability to share and understand, or at least the really good attempt to, the feelings and perspectives of someone else and respond in a way that makes them feel heard, valued, visible, and safe is a key skill for life. And research shows that even thinking that empathy is a learned skill can make us more empathetic. There's a research paper called No Country for Girly Men from 2016, and they showed that even having a positive understanding that empathy is a learned skill can make people, especially men, lean into empathy. So my name's Leanne Butterworth. I would love for you to learn more about empathy, lean into it, lean into healthy empathy, explore what empathy means for you and your relationships and what some of your reluctances or challenges are around empathy. And when we do that, we really have the chance to create a world where we are more connected, less stressed, more happy, more healthy, and businesses and families and communities thrive. Thank you so much. My name's Leanne Butterworth, and that was Empathy is a Learned Skill.
Do you know that inside our brain there is actually a function that triggers off just like the fire siren? And when it gets triggered off, it goes beep, 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 beep. Now, if rescue comes, right, that means emergency, okay, it comes and it switches it off, fantastic, all is good, right? But can you imagine if this fire siren goes on and on and on, beep, through the entire hour or even longer for days? Now, just imagine how that is really going to irritate, frustrate, or perhaps even trigger anger inside us, right? So this fire siren works exactly just like what I call the amygdala inside our brain, okay? And that actually gets triggered off when we are reacting. So my name is Brenda, and I bring clarity and excitement back into people's lives. Now this fire siren, or amygdala if you like to call it, it gets triggered off when we are reactive. When something happens, we react, okay? And if we have the level of awareness, if we have the level of mental clarity, or perhaps the calmness, the mindfulness, to be able to respond to it, we can switch that off. And what happens when we cannot? And this fire siren goes on and on and on and on and on. Now, I'm sure you would have read in the news of stories or cases where, perhaps you have read about, people fighting, punching each other to the extent of taking a knife, stabbing someone that they love, right? And to the extent of even killing someone. Why to that extent, right? And that's exactly because of this little fire siren inside us. It gets triggered off and is not able to stop. There is no help or support that can come in to actually stop this amygdala from blinking like a fire siren. So today I want to give you, in this short video, a very simple called the door approach. A simple door approach that can actually help us to find that calmness, to get that clarity, to be grounded in situations that actually trigger our emotions, our thoughts, lose irrationality, help us to find that emotional and mental calmness. Okay, so when we don't have that calmness, right, like the fire siren keeps blinking, we lose rationality, we start to get irrational. And when we start to get irrational, we become even more and more negative as well. More and more emotions comes up, we can't even sleep at times, right? And this thing can go on and on like a cycle, a vicious cycle. Okay, and that's also how people go into, long-term depression. So this door approach, okay, I'm going to show you how we can use this door approach and walk out of this door so that you don't get trapped, alright? You don't get trapped inside this space, yeah? So what is called the door approach? D-O-O-R. Now D stands for dramatization. Do you know that we actually dramatize a story very often when we are reactive? Okay, so how does that work? I'll give you an example. Now, let's say your boss is asking you to do a proposal as well as your other colleague. Okay, please submit a proposal. I need it by tomorrow. It is really, really urgent. And so you prepare the proposal, you stay overnight, you put in your best effort, and then tomorrow you put the proposal on your boss's table. And your boss took a look at it, alright? Actually, you do not know that your boss looked at it. But you just know that the next day morning, your boss came in first thing and said to your colleague, hey, I read the proposal, it was really good job done, I think that was really good. And then he said, I'll talk to you both later, and he left. So he did not say anything about the proposal. Now what happens? This is where dramatization starts to kick in. You will sit down there and you start to think, oh my goodness, I put in so much effort. I stayed overnight. How come my boss didn't read my proposal? Oh, I think maybe he's not happy because just a week ago we had a little bit of a disagreement. Maybe that's why he's not reading my proposal. I think my colleague is always trying to win him over. I know my colleague put in a lot of effort as well. Oh no, I think that's going to affect my next coming promotion. This proposal is really important, Oh, it's a multi-million-dollar deal. Maybe I'm just not good enough. This is really bad, right? So this whole story starts to go on. Now, how often have you actually take an uncertain piece of information and you actually spun a story, you create a story of your own, and it may not even be real. And that actually consumes your thoughts the whole day because it just goes on and on. It consumes your thoughts, it consumes your emotional state. You just get so emotional, it affects your productivity at work, or you may even go back, you quarrel with your spouse, or you may just start to yell at your kids. It just literally consumes you entirely. And hopefully not, but this is an exaggerated case, consuming us entirely. So this is where I say, now let's not dramatize. And let's not amplify on the emotions. So 2 words here, dramatize, amplifying. Put them together, boom, it's not going to be a good concoction. Okay, so we don't dramatize. Take a step back, okay? We don't amplify the emotion as well. We don't amplify the negativity. Already you are not happy. Don't amplify it and make yourself like a victim of your own issue. Alright, so the next word is O. Observe. Be observant. Okay, you feel reactive when you first heard of the news, or when your boss first spoke to your colleague, you reacted. You go like, okay, take a step back, observe. Start to check in, okay, what's coming up for me? Take a few deep, long breaths. If you're starting to feel, I'm feeling a heart cringe, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. Of course, in extreme cases, sometimes, we have unforeseen circumstances, situations we do not know, right? And you may feel very triggered. You don't have certainty in certain information. Take a step back and just observe first. Observe what's happening, what's going on. Don't jump to conclusion, don't dramatize. The next one, O. Okay, be open. Be open to possible perspectives. Don't create and stick to that story which you think that has to be the case. Be open. And for all you know, if you go talk to your boss the next day when you see him, let's say he comes back to the office, right? Knock on his door, ask him, hey, boss, I just wondered if you had a chance to, look at my proposal. I put in a lot of effort. It's really exciting to know about what's the new plans for the next coming year. I wonder your thoughts, if there's any way I can improve or do even better and make this a success. So for all you know, your boss is going to tell you, alright, I was just too busy, I had a last minute call in for a meeting, I haven't had a chance to fully go through your report. It's just that simple. But what you do when you don't have that information, you amplify it, you dramatize. That's very often what we normally do. Okay, next, last thing, R. What does R refers to? Ruminating. So when we are not happy, let's say the boss finally read your proposal, okay, and he comes back and he says, well, actually I read through part of your proposal, but I was really thinking through what you have done, and I was thinking if that would really work, and I need to think through a little bit more, and that was it, right? So you go back to your seat, you go home, you're not happy, you start to think, I don't like the tone of how my boss spoke to me. I think he could have been more empathetic in the way he told me, especially he asked us to do this so last minute, right? Or you start to be unhappy about, my colleague is really proud now that the boss praised this proposal, and you feel really loudly, and you continue to ruminate about the past as well. You start to bring in, I think maybe the boss is trying to create, certain circumstances that doesn't give me the opportunity to take the lead of this project. I think he must be unhappy because a few times I've clashed with him. I also think that maybe he doesn't want to give me the promotion, he wants to give it to my other colleagues. Maybe he still holds a grudge. So you dramatize and you continue to ruminate on these thoughts. You don't just ruminate for like that 1 hour, you go on and on for the next 1 day, 2 days, weeks. Some of us ruminate over an issue that we are not happy with. It can even be simple things like making a comparison with my colleague, that my colleague is doing better than I am. We ruminate over what we don't feel happy with, and it can go on for months for some people. So practice this DOOR approach, DOOR. Alright, you refer back to yourself and tell yourself, okay, I'm going to stop ruminating. Alright, I'm not going to dramatize and amplify. I go back to being observant about my own responses, my own actions. Okay, how can I be more open? What are other possibilities, or what other ways can things be done when you are stuck and when you have no clarity? So with this DOOR approach, alright, practice that. I do that myself, like a daily motto. Alright, I do that every time when I get triggered about something that I'm not happy with. I observe. Okay, I keep myself open to different possibilities, looking at different perspectives that can be beneficial. Okay, and reminding myself, okay, I'm not ruminating. So with that, you walk out of that door. You feel a lot more grounded, a lot more liberated, a lot more fresh and rejuvenated. So let me know how you feel as you practice the DOOR approach.
Hi, I'd like to ask you to think about the best manager that you have ever had. And what was it about them that made them so great? Now, think about the worst manager you've ever had. Maybe it was somebody who made you anxious about going to work. Maybe they made you cry. Maybe they made you want to quit your job, or maybe you did quit your job. What is it about that manager that stands out in your mind? Now, I'm willing to bet that what set that best manager apart from the worst was not their technical skills, but their emotional intelligence. Now, if you're not familiar with emotional intelligence, it's defined as the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as recognize and influence the emotions of those around you. My name is Erika Beck, and I am the founder of Authentic Foundations. But for years before this, I was taught that leadership was about having the smartest strategy, the most impressive credentials, the most experience, and the ability to exceed expectations and crush performance goals. And yes, that is a small part of it. However, what I've learned over time is that the most transformative leaders don't lead with their minds alone. They lead with their hearts. Now you might be thinking, what is this? Now, emotional intelligence is not some soft optional skill. It is not a buzzword, and it's not icky, fluffy emotions. It's the hidden superpower that separates good leaders from your truly extraordinary ones. And it's about understanding the invisible currents of human emotion that flow through every team, every organization, and every moment of collective effort. So today, I want to challenge everything that you thought you knew about what it means to be a leader, and discuss how the ability to read a room, to feel what others are feeling, to navigate complex emotional landscapes, that those are the real tools of leadership in the 21st century. I learned recently that when employees are promoted into management, 85% of them are not given any formal training to learn traditional management techniques. So giving feedback, holding one-on-ones, doing management performance. And even fewer are taught about emotional intelligence and why it is so crucial in leadership. So we are doing our managers and our employees a huge disservice. Now you might be thinking, why now? Why does emotional intelligence matter more today than it did a decade ago? I keep hearing about it, it's on the radar. What gives? And I would argue, politely, that emotional intelligence has always been important, but it was seen as secondary to more command and control styles of leadership in the past. But now, as the landscape of workplace is changing, the employees and their work styles, they demand more collaboration, communication, and empathy. And one element that has fast-tracked this change was the shift to the more hybrid and remote teams as a result of COVID-19. Now, the pandemic accelerated the need to adapt to a dynamic landscape that supports diversity, flexibility, communication, trust, and emotions. And another factor that has tipped the scales is the introduction of younger generations into the workplace. Now, unlike older generations who prioritize job security and career advancement, willing to do whatever it took to get ahead, younger generations prioritize work-life balance and alignment between their personal and company values. Therefore, these older top-down styles of leadership, they don't motivate millennials and Gen Z employees, and are not effective in providing the levels of support, empathy, and understanding that these employees are seeking, that they need. The result is higher turnover rates because younger generation, they have no qualms about leaving a job where they have low job satisfaction. They are not afraid to job hop to find what they want. Now, on the other hand, managers who have higher levels of emotional intelligence significantly reduce turnover rates by creating positive work environments. Because they can manage and regulate their own emotions, they provide emotional stability for their teams. They foster relationships with their employees, and they address their employee needs like work-life balance, career growth, and flexibility. And it's shown that teams that are built on an emotional intelligence foundation, they tend to build stronger trust-based relationships with their peers. That creates psychological safety that drives engagement, it improves performance, and increases loyalty. So these employees have increased job satisfaction, lower stress levels, and a better work-life balance. And naturally, when employees feel seen, heard, and valued, they don't want to leave that job. Now, if this still sounds like feelings and warm hugs and fuzzies to you, let me share some stats and facts regarding how emotional intelligence positively impacts a business. Now, there have been many studies done, but one thing that they've shown is that when emotional intelligence interventions were introduced in the workplace, there was a 63% reduction in turnover. 80% of employees consider emotional intelligence crucial for developing their careers. 59% of employers said that they would not hire somebody who has a high IQ, but a low EQ or EI or emotional intelligence level. 87% of millennials are motivated by the emotional intelligence of their leaders to help the company succeed. They are more motivated to help the company if their manager has high levels of EI. Now, Harvard and Four Seasons have done some reports as well, and they showed that fewer than 20% of companies qualify as emotionally intelligent. And those that are, they are more empowered, productive, risk tolerant, and engaged. They also report better customer experience, customer loyalty, and customer advocacy. So they are getting buy-in from their customers and their employees, and that is a win-win. Additionally, emotional intelligence is among 10 of the top most in-demand skills. And then people with higher emotional intelligence make almost $30,000 per year more than their counterparts with low EI. They are making more money with empathy. And then lastly, 75% of managers use emotional intelligence to gauge an employee's readiness for promotion or salary increase. Now, I'm not going to throw stats at you all day, even though I could, so you are welcome. You can find this information on the internet. But I hope that that has helped you understand the significance that emotional intelligence has on professional success for both individuals and businesses. And if you're thinking, look, this is something I've never been good at, so why should I bother? Why start now? It's just not my thing. I am very, very pleased to tell you that emotional intelligence is something that can be developed, improved upon, and practiced daily. So your levels of emotional intelligence, they're not set in stone, and the only thing limiting them from being better is you. Now, as we stand on the precipice of an increasingly automated world where algorithms predict our behaviors and artificial intelligence threatens to replace human decision-making, there is something profound that can't be coded, programmed, or replicated by machines, and that is genuine human connection. People want to connect. And so emotional intelligence is the tool. It is how we preserve our humanity in a world that is reducing people to data points and metrics. And this is the primary reason why I left my role in corporate America earlier this year to create Authentic Foundations. I truly believe that people and businesses will thrive when they are built on foundations of emotional intelligence and people-first leadership. Now, adults spend most of their time at work, and the experiences that they have at work, they bleed into their personal lives, into their family, into their interactions they have in society. So it is time that we focus on making the workplace a more supportive place to be. Now, leaders of today and tomorrow, I challenge you. In a world that is becoming more digital, become more human. Listen more deeply, connect authentically, lead empathetically. Leadership has never been about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most human. Thank you.